morning, America. Thanks for starting your day here with me today. I'm Vanessa Broussard. This week marks National School Choice Week, a nationwide effort highlighting the importance of empowering parents to choose the best educational path for their children. Joining us this morning is Dr. Ben Carson, longtime advocate for education reform. Dr. Carson, thank you so much for being here with us today. Good to have you on this show. Let's talk about this week. Why does National School Choice Week matter right now, and why should parents be paying attention?
Well, thank you, Vanessa, for having me. And this is such an important topic because if you get a good education, you basically write your own ticket in our society. But there's so many people who don't get a good education. And our educational system used to be the envy of the world. In 1831, when Alexis de Tocqueville came here ostensibly to study the penal system, but he studied everything, he was blown away by our school system, even the one-room schools with 8 grades in them. Because he could go out into the forest and find a mountain man or a trapper, and the guy could read. The guy could tell you about the Declaration of Independence. And if you really want to be impressed, take a look at a sixth grade exit exam from 200 years ago. What you were expected to know to get a sixth grade certificate, you'll be blown away. We have dumbed things down so much. And that's why we have to empower parents once again to choose the correct system for their children. The tremendous expansion in homeschooling and charter schools and private schools shows you that people are concerned about what's going on. And they should be, because if you look at the congressional record, 60 years ago, January the 10th, 1963, Congressman Herlong in Florida read into the record the 45 goals of communism in America. One was to gain control of the school systems, gain control of the teacher unions so you can indoctrinate the kids. If you think that hasn't happened, just go back and look at the films of Columbia University last year and some of the other universities where the students are just completely out of control. But one of the things that you'll notice about these students is they don't know much. You see those man on the street interviews, and they ask them very basic questions. They have no idea what you're talking about. Well, people without knowledge are very easy fodder for those who want to change them.
And Dr. Carson, where do you think we went wrong? You gave us some history on the education system, and you're absolutely right. I probably watch those same man on the street interviews that you're watching weekly, and you see people who cannot answer the basic questions. Is it social media and kids not reading these days? Kids not going to the libraries. I remember growing up and I was always in a school library in the programs, summer programs. Kids just aren't reading anymore. And then you also look at what's happening at school, and there's end of the year testing and mandates that these states are putting into place, and they're teaching students to pass that test, but maybe not the basics that they need to know.
Right. It's not in-depth learning. It's learning for the sake of a test, which is very superficial, and which doesn't last long. You may do okay on the test, but 3 weeks later, you don't know anything. And that's
Right.
problem. Reading, that was the thing that changed my life. I was a very poorly performing school, and my mother made me read books and made my brother read books, and we hated it. We didn't want to do it at first. But after a while, I actually began to enjoy reading because it expanded my horizons tremendously. And I went from an F student to an A student, and my mother's friends were criticizing her. You can't make boys stay in the house and read books. They'll grow up and they'll hate you. And I used to agree with her friends, but I had to read them anyway. But interestingly enough, she had the last laugh because one son became a brain surgeon, the other became a rocket scientist. So maybe there was something that she knew as a mother, that was our pathway out of poverty and being able to control our own lives. We knew that at one time in our country. We've submitted to social media, to being popular, uh, and to not establishing solid relationships with other people, and that's hurting us.
Yes, and I've seen the movie about your life, and I saw the part where your mother she turned off the TV screen and made you and your brother start reading books. A very great movie about your life and your successes. Gifted hands for people who haven't seen it. But going back to this week, Secretary Linda McMahon, she posted a picture this week on social media showing school choice expanding across the nation, and the states that have opted to President Trump's federal education freedom tax credit. Are we seeing, Dr. Carson, more states coming on board?
Without question. And we're seeing in a lot of the states that the number of households that are taking advantage of alternate educational pathways has expanded enormously to the point where in some states it's approaching 50-50. And homeschooling has more than doubled. In many states, it's tripled just in the last 5 years. So it shows you that people understand that there really is a problem. And what that should do is it should force the public schools to re examine themselves. Why are they not producing people who are knowledgeable? People can answer those simple questions. I mean, I think a lot of those beach bums that we see running around who consider themselves educated, if you ask them who wrote Mozart's 40th Symphony, they wouldn't know. That's a real problem, and we can solve the problem, and it is being solved. But, I'm very glad to see the federal government actually starting to get involved and understanding what the consequences is. Because if you have people who are not well educated, you have people who are very gullible and who can be easily taken up by Marxists and others. And you see, when you talk to those people, and I really appreciated this about Charlie Kirk, you say, why do you believe that? They can't go very deep. And sometimes it makes them stop and re examine what their belief systems are. That's what we need to do. We need to question people. Why do you believe that? And give them the real history. They try to change our history, alter our history. We want to make sure that children know who we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the fact of the matter is, in American history, there's a heck of a lot more good than there is bad and ugly. And we need to discuss it and make sure that our children understand it. That's why we have the Little Patriots program. Teach children the real values that made America great. We didn't become a great country by accident or by coincidence. It was because of our belief system.
You're absolutely right. And you're right about Charlie Kirk as well, having that open dialogue and making people think about what their beliefs are. And you're so right, Dr. Carson. A lot of times when you have this debate with others, they're taught to believe or they're brainwashed to believe what they do think. And so when you have this open dialogue with them, they can't go too far, like you just mentioned, because they don't know the facts. And so if we start teaching the kids the facts early on, they can think for themselves and they won't be brainwashed in the real world. So what do you
Yeah.
say to parents who feel trapped by their zip code when it comes to education? From your experience, what happens when these parents, they're empowered to choose instead of being assigned? What can they do if they're in one of these states that has not yet been, have switched over to school choice?
Well, they should get together, first of all, and discuss what their goals are. And you always find people who know something that you didn't know. You fill in the gaps to complete the puzzle and then become proactive. You can't just sit back and complain. You got to do something. I remember, my older brother, was signed up for vocational education in high school as opposed to college prep. And my mother, who had less than a third grade education, went in there and said, no. And she turned that place upside down. They put my brother into college prep, and he's a rocket scientist.
Such an amazing story. And that's exactly right. We need these parents. We are the security for our children. We are the biggest voice for our children because they can't fight on their own for themselves. So it's the parents who need to get involved and make sure that you are doing the best for your child. And Dr. Carson, we appreciate everything that you're doing when it comes to school choice and also the Trump administration as well. But while I have you here today, it's a big year. I want to discuss America 250, the 250th birthday of our great country. Right now, Dr. Carson, we're in a deep divide. In your opinion, how can we restore patriotism in America?
Well, so many people don't know the story of America. And so many of our kids have no idea of the incredible efforts that were put forth by people in order to provide a country like this. This is the most magnificent country in the world. I've been to 68 countries and I've lived overseas. No place even comes close to America. And that's why, despite the complaints that people have, they say it's a horrible place, it's unfair to people, it's anti immigration, it's racist. If it was all those things, why are people trying to get in here? Why aren't they trying to get out of here? And there are a lot more rafts, in fact, all the rafts between Havana and Washington or Miami, they're going in the same direction. How come they're not going back the other way? All of those things should tell us something. And at American Cornerstone, our Little Patriots program, we're getting ready to celebrate big time the 250th anniversary. Our Little Patriots movie, Star Spangled Adventures, which can be found almost everywhere, including on YouTube, uh, examine vignettes of American history. But we're going to go with a full-length cinematic production, which will be coming out just before July 4th, the premiere being at the Trump Kennedy Center. And it teaches the children, it takes you through those 250 years in a very entertaining way, which I think they will be captivated. And we just want people to know that if we tell them the truth, don't let history be rewritten, uh, they will be very proud of the country that they came from, not get caught up with these Marxists who try to indoctrinate them and captivate them and tell them that they live in a horrible place. And we don't need that. We need patriots who are willing to work, who are willing to learn from anything that has happened in the past in order for us to all work together. Because we, the American people, are not each other's enemies. We got to realize that. When you don't know who you are and you don't know your history, you're very easy to manipulate. And that's what we're seeing.
You know, Dr. Carson, I always give this example because in my heart I feel that it's so true. On 9/11, when those twin towers started crumbling and first responders started rushing to the scene and trying to save as many survivors as they could, and the people of New York came together, the people of America, we were all watching. It didn't matter that day what race you were, what
Right.
religion you were. It didn't matter what, if you were Democrat or Republican or independent, nothing mattered. That day, we were all Americans and we
Yeah.
were under attack from abroad. And so I hope and pray that we can be that way as a country every single day. That's my prayer. We need to go back to our founding principles to live in a country on faith, family, and freedom, love and unity. And think back to that day of 9/11 when we all came together and nothing mattered other than that we were Americans. So hopefully, Dr. Carson, we can get back to our roots.
One of our pillars was the fact that we believed in God. We said we're one nation under God, and that our rights come from our Creator, aka God, and not from government. And
Right.
we also believed, as the Bible says, to love your neighbor, not to cancel your neighbor if they have a different opinion. And in those days, if a farmer broke his leg, everybody else harvested his crops. They didn't ask what your religion was or what your politics were. They know you were their neighbor and you needed help. And we need to get back to that. Because if we did, then we wouldn't have to depend on the government for so much. Because people don't realize sometimes that that's the difference. The communists, the socialists, they say government is the solution to everything. And in a capitalist society like we have, we say we help each other because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We grow together, we prosper together, but we don't count on the government to do it for us because that always leads to the same place: control of your life by the government. Even if you didn't mean it to, it does. And you need to understand those principles. We need to teach those principles so that people recognize them. I was at a university recently and I said, I want you to tell me who I'm talking about. He grew up in affluent society. He rapidly developed political chops and he's moving rapidly. And they all said, Mandani, Mandani. I said, no, that was Fidel Castro. But if you
Yeah.
don't know your history, you don't know that, do you?
Right. Pick up a book. Start learning how to go to the library and read. And to all the parents out there, make sure your kids do all of that. You know, we can sit there and watch the TV all day long, but it's in those books and in the libraries where we are going to get our knowledge. And Dr. Carson, you are a living example of that, and we appreciate everything you're doing. Real quick, we have about 30 seconds left. I want you to tell everyone about the Little Patriots program and how people can get involved and learn more.
LittlePatriotsLearning.com, or you can go to the main website, AmericanCornerstone.org, and you can see the episodes. If you have children or grandchildren, go to YouTube and just go Little Patriots Learning or Star Spangled Adventures. And your children will absolutely love these. They will learn, and watch them with them because you will be amazed at how many things we adults don't know too.
Sounds good. I have a little one at home, and so when I get home this evening, I'll make sure that he tunes in. We're going to start watching. Dr. Carson, good to have you on the show here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep us posted. I know you said there's going to be a premiere in D.C. coming up soon, so we hope to have you back on the show.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa. Thanks for being a patriot.
Thank you.